which stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Pam, is that yours? I thought Gary said it there.
Roll call, please, Pam.
Mayor Grimminger.
Here.
Alderman Skaggs.
Here.
Alderman Rogers.
Here.
Alderman Stupi.
Here.
Alderman Jokers.
Here.
Alderman Steiger. Alderman Openfuss.
Here.
Alderman Ross.
Here.
Alderwoman Brosco. Here. Mayor, we have a quorum.
Thank you. We have a revised agenda out there. You all got
Yes, we
it?
do.
I hope. Okay. You want to make a motion to approve?
Please.
All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Okay, I think we'll go right to personal appearances tonight. We have Mr. Alan Wells from St. Francis County 911 Director. He's here to... Oh, okay.
He had to put his makeup on.
All right. Yeah?
He heard me on TV.
Yeah, we can do that. We'll go into the city administrator's report and then come back and do that after.
Things in my report that I'd like to highlight is I attended the special road district meeting, and they have not got the intergovernmental agreement ready, but didn't make any comment on their reaction to my request as to how it should read, positively or negatively, but I think they're likely to agree with our approach. We met with Chauncey and a couple of members of his staff to start the process on the revisions to the comprehensive plan, and what we decided to do is to start with some focus groups, and I'm going to use what's called a reputational survey. It's an old process that goes back to early planning days. But basically, you do a survey of people who tell you, based on the reputation of people they know, who would provide meaningful input into the planning process, and you do it over a large cross section of the population, and then you glean from that who would be appropriate people to have in your focus group. So I'm going to be preparing this survey. It's just going to be an index card, ask people to name 5 people other than themselves, and then we'll come up with this group, or these groups, and we think we're going to hold 3 focus groups. The purpose of the focus groups will be to identify kind of the topics of issues, not specific issues, but the categories of issues that we should concentrate on as we go through the citizen input process of the comprehensive plan. So that report is just to tell you that work is underway, and you may even be asked to fill out one of those surveys. Spoke to Midwest Petroleum. We have a contract that they only responded by kind of filling out the bid spec with their dollar amount. So we put it in the form of a contract that we've used for other services and have sent it back to them, and it's on your agenda tonight for consideration. But we talked about a schedule for microsealing. The agreement said that it would occur after April 15th. That's just more of a weather consideration than anything. So they're looking forward to doing it on a date in May, and they're coordinating their schedule with the Public Works Department because it'll require road closures and some anticipation so that you make sure there are no cars in the streets when we do the work. And it's all going to get done fairly within a day or 2 at the most. So it's going to be a pretty intense effort when it starts. We sent a letter to Congressman Carnahan's office because he was having a meeting with the Corps of Engineers. And the critical question that we were asking at the mayor's request was whether of the money we have designated for flood protection, we could spend money on projects or a portion of the project to which the Corps agrees is going to have to be done. However, the ultimate financing plays out. And so I was informed today that that topic was discussed with the colonel when he was visiting with the congressman in Washington. So I'm going to follow up with a letter to the Corps of Engineers tomorrow, specifically requesting their statement of their position on that relative to the 3rd Street Bridge. And if they, as we think they will, say, yes, that's going to have to be done no matter what happens, then maybe we can progress using the funds that are available with making that improvement and relieve some of the problems in that area.
And then get reimbursed with match later for that.
They will have committed before we spend the money that whatever we spend
Yes, sir.
gets credited to our local share.
Today, the way it stands today, you have to sign the cooperative agreement for the project before you get any reimbursement of any funds. We want them to say, we'll set that aside, knowing that we've got these issues with of what we're asking them to do to change the percentages. So set that aside. We know this project's got to be done. When the project does finally take place, we're going to get credit for it, even though we don't have this. We're asking them to waive the fact that we haven't signed off on the whole project yet, but there's certainly aspects of the project that we could do, spend our money as long as we got credit for it.
And reasoning for the city doing this would be because the Corps of Engineers has actually admitted that they've been playing ring around the rosy with the city.
Well, they've admitted they pretty well blew the estimate and blew it pretty bad as far as what their original estimate was on the project. And one of the things that this could do also, if we're looking at now a $16 million project or whatever, well, I think was the last estimate, wasn't it, somewhere around there?
That was the last one.
And we have $3 million set aside, and we're $1 million short of our match. If we could do some of these projects that say they estimate, normally their estimates so far have been pretty high. If they estimate the 3rd Street Bridge to say costs $1 million, and we go in and we could do it with our money and do it for $300,000, well, that takes the whole cost of the project down, and maybe we're not looking at a $16 million project anymore. Maybe we're only looking at maybe we can get that down. So that could maybe lower the overall project cost to where we could be within our budget to be able to do it. So the other thing we are asking them too, if possibly, is if maybe we can get credit for some of the things that we're looking at, some of the things that were already done that they don't have to touch.
Yes, and putting the problem we're having is putting dollar figures on that would require finding the records to support the level of work, and that's a bit problematic. But I think they have pledged, both in their written correspondence to me and in their meeting with the congressman, that they're going to do whatever they can within what they see to be the scope of their authority to work with St. Genevieve. They just don't believe they can arbitrarily change the percentage of the match. I don't necessarily agree with that, but that's their position, and until somebody tells them to change their mind, that's what they're going to do. If we're successful doing this, we won't have to ask them for that.
Now,
We'll just be able to work the ratios down to where we can get it worked out.
I believe Phase 4 is recreational. Has that been thrown into the blend here?
That's in the total dollar figure.
Well, I mean, what we're asking for now, is there a possibility we can do some recreation work?
We could do that phase of the project. Again, with the understanding that the fact that we're spending it without the agreement won't disqualify from being part of our local share when the time comes. Okay, today representatives of the Landmark Commission, not the whole commission, met in an all-day affair to discuss the next year for landmarks. I was not able to attend all day, but I attended. I think that significant progress was made, and Brenda could maybe fill you in without any specifics, but a lot of discussion about the things that were discussed at the joint meeting here and how the city and Landmarks Commission could make some meaningful changes. And I think there's the Landmarks Commission and commissioners that were there are relatively soon going to be in a position to make recommendations that everybody can support. Is that an accurate statement of what occurred today?
Sir.
Thank you. Finally, at our last workshop, we presented properties to you that we felt were violating the city codes and demanded some action on the part of the city, and got your consent to proceed on those properties. I was under the belief that people had been contacted, these property owners. The staff was of the understanding that they needed to wait to get the Board of Aldermen's direction before we contacted it. And for a couple of property owners, it is problematic. So I'd like to say now to you, to Jim Fleeg and Nancy Glass, who own the property at 688 Market, that the city, I personally owe them an apology because they weren't contacted before the information was released to the public and printed in the newspaper. And they are very cooperative and would have been cooperative before we brought the information before you at a work session. And I met with them, I expressed to them my personal apology, and I promised them that I would make it known to the board and to the folks who are watching this meeting that the owners of that property, Jim Fleeg and Nancy Glass, are desirous of and are cooperating with the city and would have cooperated with us before we had that meeting if we had been in contact with them. So my apology to Mr. Fleeg and Ms. Glass. Yes.
Martin, I'd probably want to apologize to you. I asked for a press release, and you said that it was probably not a necessary thing to do, and so you actually did not make a press release. Is that correct?
Well, the reporter was present at the meeting and reported accurately.
It's an
the
open
names that
meeting.
were, yeah,
It's an open meeting. Everyone
yeah, and
is allowed.
And I understand that had
You're
they
a big man.
known we wanted them to do something with that property, they would have taken steps before we had the meeting.
You're a big man.
Yes, sir.
So I guess after this, do we have policy and procedures in place for stuff like this now, or we're just gonna take it one step at a time?
It's not I have a policy now.
It was more a misunderstanding than
The staff and I understand
a miscommunication.
that we should always communicate with the property owner before we take enforcement action. And we should solicit their cooperation for voluntary compliance with our building codes. That's the policy. In this case, I allowed the information to come to a public meeting and be made public before these property owners were contacted. Should I have anticipated that? Perhaps. I didn't, and for that, citizens' names were unnecessarily printed in the paper because they would have said, yeah, sure, we'll fix it.
And there is at least one property you and I discussed that you haven't found the owners, is that correct? Because you said
No,
it
we found
should have
them.
it should have been on that list also? That's what I got from our discussion the other day.
Yes, they have, but this is a property that the city has been dealing with for code violations for several years.
Right.
And in seeking voluntary compliance, they'll do a few things and then they won't. The guy who represented himself as the owner of that property, a search of the records revealed he was not. And he was the one who was promising to get the things done. So we're now on that property going through the process of notifying the actual owner.
Okay. Any question? John?
I guess here on the micro sealing, are they gonna do this cleaning of the streets themselves, or do we
Yes.
have to do it?
You don't actually, after the micro sealing, you don't have that.
No, before, getting it ready.
Oh, the cleaning of the streets.
Yeah, getting it ready before. did we check on that? I mean, I'm just curious.
The contract does not call for us to do the street cleaning.
Well, it doesn't specify who does it.
Well, and,
Oh,
the street preparation, I'll check tomorrow, but,
okay.
if they need clean streets and they propose to do the work and didn't exclude it from the contract, I mean, they would be hard pressed to put their material on dirty streets. It's not gonna work.
Right. And
Obviously,
the only
we'll
other
do any
thing is,
patching and all that. We'll do any patching.
We have to do the
stuff.
preparation, the street preparation, yeah.
we'll have to have Scrubby Dutchman or whatever do it, huh?
Well, he's talking about patching.
I'm talking about any patching that have to be done or should be done underneath it, we'll be taking care of that part.
And then the only other thing I got is I was very disappointed. The Special Road District still doesn't have nothing put together.
That's correct.
I mean, did they give a time frame or?
They told me to come back, I said, I'll be back at your meeting next month.
But they've done their budget and they've allocated some money.
They committed to the money, but in order to convey it, I mean, and they said, but we only want you to spend it, and I had that discussion at their last meeting. I said, yeah, I understand you don't want us doing subdivision roads, but, we'd like to at least to have the ability to make the decision of which roads that are used for general commerce within the city get done. And that I gave them the language that would accomplish that, and I hope that's what they're going to put in the agreement. But they're having Ivan Schrader, I guess, the attorney that represents the county, and them prepare the intergovernmental agreement, and they didn't have it last month. I hope they'll have it at their next meeting.
Anything else? Okay, then we'll go on to personal appearances. Tonight we have Mr. Alan Wells from St. Francis County 911 Director.
Good evening, everyone.
Good evening.
You need to go to the microphone.
Oh, the microphone.
So everybody can see you on TV. Thank you for coming, and
You're welcome.
please, I guess, give the board an update as far as anything new or what's going on, and then I'm sure they may have some questions.
Well, it's been an interesting conversion. We've been, it all started, of course, a year ago, January. And first phase was to bring in the 911 and interface all St. Genevieve County 911. And that was an easy phase. It was very simple. All of that goes through the tandem of the phone company, which AT&T controls. So phase one went very well, very smooth. There's a lot of engineering design in the 911 infrastructure and system that if there's a problem, that these calls can be rerouted anywhere to another backup facility. And we were already your backup facility for routing of 911 calls. So phase one was very simple. And then the phase two was to start working with the staff and training initiatives and start working on the conversion of the communications infrastructure, which we ran right into the storm season last year. And your infrastructure over here on the communications uses a lot of copper wiring in the ground, and that created a lot of nightmares for us, which I'm sure you all were experiencing already. But so we've cleaned up a lot of that, and actually it forced us to start looking at your communications side of the house, which was supposed to be phase 3, was going to be this year. But we moved that up on the schedule and have been working on that pretty hard to clean up a lot of those issues. So another initiative was that we ended up working on that we weren't aware of going into the project was your emergency siren system over here. Evidently, they had the old civil defense siren on the courthouse, and the county commission was very adamant they wanted that fixed and some new sirens. So they did move forward and purchase 3 that was installed last year in the city of St. Genevieve. And I think they're working now on purchasing 2 more for 2 more communities in the county this go around. So that's been accomplished as well. Another initiative was the emergency notification to the citizens. The county had owned one, and it may have been an initiative, a combination of the city and the county, I'm not sure, with your original 911 setup. But it was an alert notification out for the citizens. And I think that system, I don't remember the name of it. Reverse 911. was the vendor on that. And I know that was in place, and I think there was a lot of issues with that program, and it was quite costly. And I think the bill was coming due on that last year. So we addressed that and now have went with a program called text casting notification, which was sponsored by Belgrade State Bank over in St. Francis County. So no cost whatsoever to the citizens or taxpayers of either county. And it's been working relatively very well. And some of you may have it and get those alerts and notifications, I'm not sure. But it's a pretty good program. We're excited about that. And it puts the emergency notice or alert right into your hands to give you that advance warning in case you're out somewhere and you don't hear the sirens of that nature. So then we also another objective was to get location technologies on wireless devices. As you know, or you may not know, here in Missouri is the only state in the entire nation without a funding mechanism in place for wireless 911. We're the last. We were the first to start fighting for it in 1997, and we did get a bill passed for a fee on wireless devices in 98. It went to vote to the citizens statewide. It was defeated. So it came back out again in 2002, and again it was defeated by the citizens of the state. Out of every other state that has a funding mechanism in place to fund wireless technology, only one went to a statewide vote. The rest of it was all an emergency public safety initiative, and it did not have to go amency vote in any other state. So we're still battling that. We've been battling it ever since with our legislatures. I'm on the state legislative committee. We've been fighting that. This year we have two bills that were introduced right now, and they're being looked at. Again, though, it's going to require a statewide vote, one of those bills. And it also requires, if you're a sales tax supported county for 911, that they reduce their revenue by 10% before they're even eligible to apply for their own money. So I think it's going to have a lot of opposition on that bill. And the other bill was to establish a statewide governance, a board for wireless funding. And there are already two boards in place. The first piece that's already established and on the books has a board already with it, but it has to have the funding mechanism for the board that's established. And then there's the Governor's Advisory Oversight Board as well, which I am on that board for the state of Missouri. So that initiative has been worked on diligently, but we worked hard and have moved forward with Phase 2 location technology on cell phones. Now, when I say wireless, I'm not just talking about cell phones anymore today. What's already coming down the pike for the entire nation, and not just the United States, but every other country in the world, is next generation 911. Today, what do young people do with the cell phone? Do they talk on it or what? They text, and they can text 911 now. And other states are already moving into the technology so that they can receive an emergency text message. OnStar, your cars with OnStars. How many have OnStar in your car? OnStar can now start dialing 911 in an accident automatically. And your 911 centers have got to stay on top of increasing your technology and your backroom equipment to be able to receive that call as well. VoIP, voice over IP, that's another initiative too that's out there. That a lot of people have wireless connectivity onto your internet. Well, you can dial 911 on your laptop today. And these are things that we're trying to stay on top of so that we can receive these notifications without any funding to do it. There are 54 counties still in the state of Missouri that are funded by landline tariff. This county and St. Francis County are two of those. And there are 40, don't hold me to this, it's 46 or 47 that are funded off of a local sales tax within their county. And there are still 16 counties without zero funding or zero 911 in place in the state of Missouri. So that's kind of our dilemma. We're way behind the curve here and have a lot of catching up to do in our state. But one of the initiatives with this consolidation was that we wanted to go ahead, regardless of no funding, we don't have any revenue coming in from wireless. We're going to fund it out of this consolidation of helping us. We were able to negotiate and save enough across the board for everybody that we're going to fund Phase 2 technology for the citizens of both counties. So, and we've got that in place. I was hoping to have it completed before December, but I had a setback with a personal dilemma in my life. But we've moved forward. We have location technology on AT&T and on T-Mobile, and we're moving with Sprint and Verizon, and we still are trying to negotiate with US Cellular. And those are the carriers that affect both our counties. So we're about halfway there. 2 of those are on track to be completed with Phase 2 location technology with us within the next 3 months. And then I still have US Cellular to work out. So that's a plus, to be able to locate this emergency call on that cell phone. I keep patting my hip because that's where my cell phone is. But our citizens are using this more and more every day. There are, how many have done away with your landline in this room? Many of us, right? And they predict, the industry predicts there will be another 50% decrease in landline technology by 2017. And an increase. And that's what happens is we see fewer customers on the landline infrastructure, which is how we're funded. They have to keep increasing that product, the base dial tone. And when they increase the base dial tone for that user, because there's fewer people sharing the cost, the tariff rate that's attached to that to fund us in both our counties, we're both 15% of that dial tone. It increases our revenue coming back to us a little bit. So what has happened, theoretically, is when St. Francis come out the gate with funding on landline telephone in 92, and St. Genevieve came along, I believe, in 94, we were both went at 15% of that dial tone. That dial tone at that time was $9 a month for the base. That's before you add all the extras on your phone. Today, that dial tone is $20 a month. So it has increased our revenue to the user, but the total dollars coming into us we're actually bringing in the same amount of money today that we brought in 1998. So it's hard to stay in business like that, which is one of the reasons why this county had to start looking at what are we going to do, how can we stay in existence and fund this without continuing to pay for it out of general revenue dollars, or keep charging the city of St. Genevieve or the ambulance district, because they have to keep absorbing that loss or no increase from the loss of wireless devices or wireline device revenues. So that's still being addressed and worked on. The consolidation has eased that pressure for both counties. Is it a fix? Not a long term, because we're still going to be fighting that loss of revenues for both of us. But it has given us some breathing room and some time that maybe the state will continue to work and get this wireless funding in place in the state of Missouri. So all we can do is keep that in mind and let our representatives know. The citizens with these wireless devices don't pay a penny to support emergency 911 service. But they are now 60% of our workload. 60% of 911 calls come from these devices. And in some communities in the state, it's 80%. So you can see where the problems are going with that. We're going to have to accomplish it somehow in the state of Missouri, or it's going to force this other 54 landline-supported counties to move to a sales tax to be able to stay in existence.
The city attorney has forwarded me a case that suggests, if not in the state, that cell phone is a utility subject to the city's utility taxes. Do you know of anybody in the state that is pursuing that?
I'm not aware of it in that direction. I know that there was an issue about the wireless carriers selling their devices at their tables or booths within city limits, but not paying city sales tax because their main office may have been in another location, so they weren't remitting the local sales tax. And there was a class action suit filed against the wireless carriers a couple years ago, and they lost. And the city should have seen some sales tax revenue finally come in from that. But it's strictly the one-time sell of the device. It's not the ongoing cost. It has nothing to do with 911 or support of 911. So I'm not real sure.
Where's a 911 call go today?
It's answered in our office, in our shop.
I mean, off of a cell phone?
Excuse me?
Off of a cell phone?
Even a cell phone. Everything comes into our shop. What it does is that signal, when you dial the cell towers that are placed around the county, which there are many, and the signal will trigger off whatever tower it hits first. That picks that signal up the strongest is the tower that will pick it up. And then that tower will then send that call onto us at the actual answering point. Now you have to have equipment to be able to receive that signal and that type of call, which we have in place in St. Francis County. St. Genevieve had the ability to receive that call, but they did not, with their previous equipment, have the ability to receive the Phase 2 technology, which is what we are moving into now. Which Phase 2 now gives us not only, Phase 1 will give us the callback phone number to this device. Phase 0 strictly gave us the tower, a number associated with that tower that it hit. And that's how we both operated for a long time. And so if the caller couldn't speak or didn't know where they were or were lost somewhere in the woods, it was hard to find people. And if you're in a wreck or if you're suffering a major traumatic incident, you're not thinking clearly. And you'll be surprised how many people may be 2 blocks from their own home and can't recall where they're at or their address or what street they're on. So it's tough to locate people on wireless devices unless you're in that Phase 2 environment. And so the Phase 0 strictly gives you the tower that the call hit, what tower it went from. So then you got to work off of a 25-mile radius. Now there's 3 phases on each of these towers. So you were able to narrow it down to about a 7.5-mile radius. And but that's still a lot to look for. And where you all don't have as many incorporated towns over here like we do, but every town has the same street names. So in that 7.5-mile radius, you may have 5 or 6 towns that all have the same example. Yeah, and let's say even the caller was able to get out on 2nd Street. Now you got 5 or 6 towns to go start knocking on doors on 2nd Street. So now that moving into Phase 2 is really narrowing that down, and it's pretty good. It's about a 98% of the time it will be within about 100 meters of the signal of the phone. But still, if you're in town here, that may circumference 4 or 5 homes, or a whole block. So, but it's still going to get us down pretty close that we can start looking. And if it's someone lost out in the woods or out here on the interstate, it's certainly going to help us find people a lot better and a lot quicker. So we are pleased to say we are moving in that direction rather well and rapidly. And we have already the 2 major carriers. So we're just wrapping up the others.
Will you turn those on as you say you have the 2? Are they on, or do you have to turn it all on at once?
No, it's carrier by carrier.
Okay.
So we have those 2 operational today. They're up and functioning. The other 2 I expect within 3 months. And then the last one I'm working on is US Cellular. So, and they're a little more difficult. They still are routing their 911 calls on this device to our at landline telephone. So they're not even routed to my 911 system. They're coming to our desk phones. So, yes, sir.
I'm in the state parks and everything, and I can never get a signal on my phone.
Signals are
So-
tough still.
But if you text, you can get the text through. So when they go to 911 text, you could probably just be by anywhere and get through. wouldn't you?
It's not always true that text will go through, but it's a little better. Sometimes that text will go out when the voice won't.
Right.
The voice takes a lot more bandwidth and signal strength than that text does. So sometimes the text can get out where the voice won't. But if you have no signal at all, you still can't get the text out. But that's true. And our younger generation, that's all they know, is how to text. So, yeah, they don't speak. But there are many, many more devices already, industry and the technologies coming out that's just amazing. And we've got to keep trying to keep up with the paces here, and relatively with no funding in Missouri. And so we have to be creative and do bake sales and car washes. But not that bad yet. But we are trying to stay on top of the game. But these are some of the things that the consolidation has already brought to both counties. We've been able to move to Phase 2 for both the citizens of both counties. We've got the emergency alert notification for the citizens of both counties, and reducing cost or at least the burden of that immediate pressure to where our entities were having to push that or take it out of general revenue, which is costing the taxpayers. So hopefully that's been a positive. We feel real good about things right now. A lot of positive feedback from all of our public safety responders, which is the radio side of the house. And we're still working on the communication spectrum over here. We just did a sweep of the towers, trying to find out what's wrong or if there's any problems with any antennas or coax, because the FCC's mandating, this is another big hurdle we've got to get over. The FCC's mandating public safety radio airway, the bandwidth that we operate in, to be shrunk. So that means if we have a license to operate on this law channel or this fire channel or that ambulance channel, today we're operating and have been accustomed to working in about a 25 bandwidth, baud weight bandwidth. Well, that's being narrowed down to 12 and a half. And we also have to reduce our wattage, our power of our transmissions. If we're putting out at 100, 110, we have to narrow it down to 50, which is going to be tough to reach out to some of these low-lying areas and some of these holes that are out there. And so the first priority we're looking at is to make sure our towers and our antennas are working at maximum peak performance. And we found a few problems, and the joint board has already given me a green light to address those issues and to work forward on that initiative prior to narrow banding going into place, which is January 2013. And so we're working on that and to get those at peak performance, and then we have to start the narrow banding process. Another initiative in communications is called P25, which is a mandate by the federal government that interoperability is accomplished state by state and into the federal system. Now that's also being rolled down. There was a lot of misinformation on that early on. Everyone thought, well, every police department, every fire department, and ambulance had to be P25, and you do not. It's available that a city or a county or an entity or an agency can go P25 into the state interoperable system if you want. It's costly. Those radio systems are high dollar. But it's not mandatory. Only as long as your communications facility is P25 capable. So we worked on an initiative in the state of Missouri to make every PSAP will have a P25 system installed, paid on the grant dollars of the state. No cost to the local whatsoever. So there will be one here in St. Genevieve as well. We're here at the 911 Center. And so we'll have the ability to be P25 and connect into the state network and system if need be. Yes, sir.
Certain weather conditions like snowstorms or other high winds and things will create a lot more calls for you than a normal condition. How do you administratively staff for those peak demand?
If there's something that is prior knowledge, if it's a prior knowledge, we will activate staff to be ready to respond. As soon as they can get in, they respond to beef up staff. And those are tough because we have many incidents that we can't predict or know about. You may have something that's predicted to be a rain turn into snow. You may have something, you wake up one morning, it's going to be a fog, and then it turns into being a black ice, and just having an influx of emergencies that you don't expect. And those things you can't plan for. But the ones that we have prior notice, we certainly try to beef up staff and being able to respond in those as best as possible. Again, we can only do we can only have as many people there as we have positions to man and staff. So if the incident ends up being even further broader, then those 911 calls will have to be rolled over to another, by the engineering design, they'll roll over to another county. Ours would then go to, we have an immediate rollover into the city of Farmington, where we have 3 positions there with 3 emergency 911 trunk lines into Farmington that we can respond staff to immediately pick up 3 more positions. But if it's something of even broader consequences, then it rolls over into Jefferson County, and they pick up our overflow. Yep. But those are tough, you know. You can just plan on those best you can as you have the information to plan.
So, when they roll over like that, is there any delay in response time?
Certainly. Yeah, you're not in answering the 911 call, but of course in the response time, because now they've got to get that information still back to us to get it communicated and dispatched out. And if our people are all, you know, getting hammered with calls and radios, it could cause a delay. Sure could. We hope minimal, but it would certainly add minutes at least to the dispatch out time.
Usually on the average, like I'll tell you an accident on the interstate, one accident on the average is usually 10 to 12 911 calls, ain't it?
You ain't kidding.
I
If it's a high-profile incident, especially on the
And it's
interstates,
just one accident.
and one accident, as before, we were accustomed to landline to tie to a house or structure. You're going to get one call. If it's a fire, you may get the neighbor call. You know, you're going to get one or two calls. Today, with these devices, a high-profile incident will cause in itself a major overload, because you may get an influx of calls, and you have to give those emergency calls coming in, the 911, you got to give them priority over everything else. Those have got to get priority to get answered and find out. And then you find out, well, okay, now I got to filter out the ones that are the same incident and get through that process. But one high-profile incident in a high-profile area will get a big increase of calls.
And also about probably 6 to 8 different locations for the same accident.
Same accident, sometimes you're right. It's like, well, it's out here on 55, I'm a mile from
50 miles from St. Louis.
Yeah, I'm 50 miles south of St. Louis. And next one will be, well, I'm at St. Genevieve, a mile from 32 exit. And then the next one, you know, it's just, some people often when they're traveling, if they're not familiar with the area, you know, it's hard to get the location from them. But now with phase 2, now this takes a little time. It doesn't immediately come through. The 911 operator, the call comes through, and they get the voice, and they'll get the callback number. But to get the location with latitude and longitude, which is how we trace these, it was a lat long, it takes that operator now other steps. They have to go in and do a rebid into the phone company system now to pull out the lat long location of these devices. So it takes another 30 seconds in the process to pull out that location technology. And then once we get the location technology, which is another thing that has been accomplished by the progressiveness of your county commission in this county, was moving forward with getting some new imagery for the county. Before, they were working off of just, if you would, a black background with the lines drawn on it, which was spin the roads, and then tagged address. Now we have aerial imagery for your county, where we can see your homes and your streets and the buildings and the roads and the woods and the creeks. And which you did have, we brought some pictometry imagery to you all on a grant that we did for 10 counties, and it was in a closet over there, wasn't being utilized, but which is a phenomenal tool. And so we've got that operating. We've got the new aerial imagery for the whole county, and we've got that tied into this pictometry imagery. And now we're in the process of developing the software to make it work into our computer-aided CAD system. And so that's progressing. We're working with Barb over here. Barb still staffs the 911 center over here 3 days a week, doing addressing. I just recently had to start pulling her 2 days for training over there with us on this networking, tying in of this software for mapping and addressing.
The only other question I got is you partially answered my question. Friday night, the call out on Goodell slab, the boy trapped in the water.
I'm not even familiar with
I mean,
that.
nobody knew where Goodell slab. I was dumbfounded. I would have thought on a 911 on a cell phone, they should have been able to pull a location up.
It depends whether he was with the carrier that we have that location yet. See, right now we only have Sprint or AT&T and T-Mobile, and the others are in the implementation mode. And then U.S. still sends those calls to my desk phone, my landline phone. They don't even send them to my 911 system. So it could have been. It depends on the carrier
Yeah,
and of who he's with, and it's probably a carrier that we don't have it in place yet. Probably because now once we get that all done, then they can do that rebid, and it'll give them the lat long, and then they'll be able to pull it down the location. It's pretty impressive, and I invite anybody to come over and look at it. You're welcome to come over to the center and tour and see how we're operating and how things are networking. And we can do some tests and have someone over here send the call through, and you can see the process, how it works.
So when it snowed this last winter, you did have extra help in there?
That snow happened real quick. I think that one was supposed to be in rain, and it started snowing. It got really slick. And was that the first snow?
Well, I think.
We've only had
I think
one snow, haven't we?
The first snow was worse than the first snow.
Always the first snow is the worst one. And if they're a wet snow, they're slick, and people don't know how to drive on them. But if it's one that we have prior information from the Weather Service that we're forecast to have snow, we have extra staff.
I think one referring to, it wasn't a heavy snow, but it put down a sheet of ice before the snow fell.
Right.
Oh, it froze.
It was treacherous.
Yeah. I'm not real sure
I mean,
when the
your
date
help
was.
is close enough some can come in, or are they
Yes, I have.
a long ways away?
I have 3 staff that are within a half mile or so that are always on immediate response, and then my supervisors are on immediate response as well. But it's still going to take 15, 20 minutes, 30 minutes for people to get in, and if it's really bad, they may have a hard time getting in. And a lot of times these little slick things, you'll have a rash of fender benders and people sliding in the ditches, and it's nothing for us to have 30 accidents or within an hour or less than an hour time frame. And those are always create a lot of havoc. But normally they're in the ditches and fender benders on those slick things, but they still cause a lot of work on staff and manpower and the field units and fire and EMS and law enforcement. They just get overwhelmed quickly.
Aren't you housing like a special building also with like earthquake-proof?
Our facility is
Yeah,
a bunker
right.
underground.
Right.
Yes.
Yeah,
Yeah, it's
backup power and all that?
Yes, sir. Yeah, it's a bunker underground with its own backup system.
Right.
And everything in the facility also has redundant backup within it as well.
Mhm.
If something happens, the generator doesn't start, we have so many hours with UPS systems and battery backups, redundancies to give us a time to figure out, well, what's wrong with the generator. But the generator runs, it's a 50 kW. It's more than adequate to run everything we have. And it tests itself weekly, running a full load. It runs our facility for an hour every week. Just like there's one here in the 911 facility here. There's one at our primary towers. Over here, your primary repeater towers at Lime Kiln Road. And there's a generator there that we test it weekly as well. And then there's one, we have one over there in San Francisco. So, the 911 infrastructure, the engineering of that is very good. And all the eggs aren't in one basket. So if something would happen and there's a main trunk line severed by someone digging or something, that happens. The city of Park Hills dug up one of ours once. But that can happen. Murphy's Law will get you sometimes. Everything is not on all one leg. So if something happens, you lose this portion, it will all divert over, reroute through the network and engineering of the phone companies to another leg. Or it will reroute to another county. At least the call will get answered, and then they will get it to us. So we feel really good about the 911 engineering. The radio connectivity we're on an umbilical cord. And this may have been a little of a misconception at first when we were coming in and doing a consolidation, was we didn't come in and put in a whole new radio infrastructure over here for you all, for the county. We're using what you already had. We just tied into it. So what happens, instead of an operator sitting over here keying up that radio, they're sitting over there still keying up that same radio. But we're just doing it from there on an umbilical cord. Now we've got some backups and redundancies we've been working on that. That is your public safety departments over here can program and use our frequencies and emergencies as a backup if that umbilical cord is severed. And we also have the control bases over here now that the ones that you had prior was actually a mobile radio. It was to be your backup repeater, and you can't do that with a mobile radio. we learned that in the storms, last storm season. It's like, how come we're in the middle of transmission, it just drops? Well, because in your back room, what was using as your backup, your repeater system, was a mobile radio. They're not designed to be repeaters. They are designed to transmit limited time. So if you go beyond that limited time that's programmed in that radio, it'll just shut off. It's a protective measure to keep the radio from burning up. Now, if we're using it a lot, it'd drop off and reboot. And so we've changed that out and have you on a repeater system. So, but some of the radios have had to be corrected and repaired, some of your transmitters, because some of them were not capable for this narrow banding initiative that has to be accomplished by January 13th. Those have all been replaced and upgraded. As well as there are your field units. Your police, fire, EMS, mobiles, and portables have also got to be narrow bandable to be able to receive this new frequency, the narrow frequency. And if they're not narrow bandable, then they have to be replaced because they're not going to function when we move these frequencies to narrow banding. So we've tried to look at everybody. We've talked to most of all the chiefs and of all the departments. And I think most of the radios are close now. There might still be a few out there that aren't. But that has to be addressed. We have to make sure our mobiles and portables are narrowbandable radios. If they're manufactured after the year of 2000, they are narrowbandable. Prior to that, there's from 98 to 2000, there were a few that were. Prior to 98, none of them were. So you have to kind of look and see what your equipment is and whether it's narrowbandable. Now, for the fire departments and ambulance, this also includes your pagers. Your tone pagers have got to be narrowbandable, not just your radios. We're moving forward this year. I feel good about where things are. Our main priority is still finishing up phase 2 and moving everyone into this narrow banding requirement that we have to be. And any questions?
Thank you.
Thank you all very much.
Informative, and thanks for taking your time to come over.
You're most welcome. Again, anyone's welcome to come over and take a tour and check it out and see how the process works.
Where's your location?
It's 102 Industrial Drive in Park Hills, the industrial park, over by the big chat pile that's not so big anymore. They narrowed it down.
Off of 8? Or is that 8 or
It used to be the Zigzag 8. Yeah, it comes right by our facility. Now there's a bypass. But, 102 Industrial Drive. Thank you all.
Thank you. Terry, it's your turn. Your boss is here, so.
As you see, I'm frying trouble again. I think you all got a copy of my report in front of you. A couple of things I wanted to talk about real briefly was THMs, the total triallomethanes. We received a really good test results on our last ones. They'd been running fairly high out in the industrial park area, but we started changing our water plant operations a little bit to try to maximize some of that storage out there. And we're utilizing about 68 to 70% of that water now every Saturday and Sunday. That water's been primarily for fire protection to Built Best and when they ran that line back then and stuff. And so with only having the one customer on that line, which is community center, that water gets very old, and it happens to be a point that we have to test. So looking into the cost of tying in the line to the rest of the system and stuff, I think the best alternative at this point was to figure out a way to utilize that water, in which we have. And so by doing so, our test results are now about 50% better than they were. Hopefully that'll continue to be that way, and we won't have any problems with the stage 2 of the disinfection rule that we'll have to meet in 2014. So that was part of my reasoning for doing that, and it's been very successful. So also wanted to tell you that Out of the 2,044 water meters that are in the system, 1,260 new ones have been installed. So that leaves just over 600 left to be installed. So we're right on pace for that. Both the water and the wastewater projects are now finished. The work is finished. The closeout paperwork should be being ready to be submitted in the next few days. Herzog construction is now complete with the last phase of the wastewater project. I'm hoping next week to hear from the energy people on an energy grant rebate. Thought we'd know about it by today, but when I talked to him, he was running a few days behind, so we should know something next week. We did get two cell phone monitors installed on the lift stations. They're up and working. Our training was performed. We're going to continue to receive a little training via phone calls and stuff as we have questions, but now I can pull up data from my computer and see what the lift stations are doing, the two that we have that installed on. We're going to try to get one a week until we get the others completed. So that went very well. So you see anything in the report that you might have questions on that I didn't highlight, I would be glad to answer your questions.
Did you get a copy of the email that I received from Warner and Chevron on the water system grant?
No, I did not. If I did, I haven't read. I must have been late today and I didn't read it.
It wasn't definitive, but it basically said that our grant request had been considered to adjust the formula.
Mm-hmm.
Is still alive and kicking.
That's great.
So they don't have a decision yet, but it was pretty positive.
That's great. If you'll, and on that same note, if you'll look in one section of my report here, under water reports, where it says miscellaneous recommendation, then now down below that it says water reports, there's a little bit of information in that section that would pertain to that when I talked to the Bear Engineering Company the other day. So that's great. That's good. I hope we get that. Any other questions? Thank you.
Thanks, Terry.
Any committee reports? No meetings?
No, Landmarks hasn't met for quite a while.
Okay. Okay, we'll go into the minutes of the March 8th meeting.
Move to approve.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Financial report for February.
Move to approve.
Second.
Any questions? Okay, all in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Okay. Resolution 2012-42, a resolution of the City of St. Genevieve, Missouri stating intent to apply for a Missouri Department of Natural Resources grant for the fiscal year 2012 Historic Preservation Fund grant in the amount of $1,756.
I move to approve.
Second.
So what is this for?
It's a grant that covers registration at this conference for Brenda. They'll be giving her the grant to go
And
to the
that's
conference.
in where? In,
Northport, Virginia.
yeah, I mean, I know it's in there, it's kind of doing clarification.
Oh, motion and second, right? You did?
Right.
Okay, all in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Okay, resolution 2012-43, a resolution of the City of St. Genevieve, Missouri stating intent to apply for a grant from the St. Genevieve County Community Development Fund in the amount of $15,874 for the City of St. Genevieve Police Department.
Move to approve.
When is this more equipment to go with what we got?
Eric can address this. But yes, the answer is yes.
That's what I thought.
Good evening. Yes, this would continue our programming.
Just add to it.
Yeah, just adding 2 additional computers. The request was for the docking stations and air park service.
Does this grant, that pretty much completes your upgrade then?
Yes, it would.
Yeah.
It would get adequate coverage for all the officers
Okay.
and administrative staff.
Okay. Thanks, Chief.
Yes, sir.
And I guess the others all up and running. You're using
Officially, yes, and I actually need to talk to Toby about that. He'd been asking me about that, but I did get the mules online yesterday, and got all the authentication and technological requirements completed, so I notified Mr. Wells of that this afternoon, this decrease in our registration checks with dispatch, so it's been a very beneficial program so far.
Thanks,
Thank you,
Chief.
guys.
Appreciate it.
Got a motion and
And a motion in a second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Okay, Resolution 2012-44, a resolution appointing Jacqueline Gons as Assistant City Attorney.
And she is?
Oh, she is Frank's, our partner.
Yes.
Yes.
I guess this shouldn't have been a work session matter before it come before us?
Is this a meritorial appointment?
Yes.
So you're making an appointment, Mayor?
It's in the event that Mr. Elpers can't attend a meeting, court, whatever, that she has the ability to officially
Stand in.
and represent the city.
At what cost?
Same cost.
Under the contract.
Under the contract.
When she feels in the same as,
We have on the judicial side, it's a fixed amount, and that's what it's mostly would be the benefit for.
Right. The prosecutorial function is a flat fee. So whether she's there or I'm there or we're both there, it's.
No difference in
It's no
pay.
difference. And it allows us to cover when we have the week courts where we're meeting once or twice a week. And if I'm in Jefferson County and I can't make it, she can cover that at week court. And that's how we enforce your nuisance ordinances and weed ordinances during the peak summer months.
that's what I was going to ask. Is that much that we need an assistant?
We've always had 2 people doing this. It was just when Mr. Inman left, we never did get Jackie appointed to back up.
This is just filling a vacancy that we failed to do for a while.
Evidently,
Basically.
pretty long time.
We've had a bunch of them that we've just now filling, but, move to approve.
Second.
That's just in case Frank asked, maybe
Yes.
what amount.
Right.
And this is, yeah, and then we should try and meet her sometime.
Absolutely.
Yeah, I think that'd be good. All right, thanks.
Did you get that? Okay. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Okay, old business, bill number 3837, second reading.
An ordinance amending chapter 500 buildings and building regulations, section 500.220 occupancy permit required fees.
I thought we were going to do a work session on this. I thought I tabled at that time to have a work session. Because Mr. Steiger has never been here. He's the one that sponsored the bill. And I thought we were going to have a work session as the admin having
I
our
thought
building
we-
inspector, Jimmy Jones, to see. I think there's things that should be added to the inspection and that before we.
Okay.
I don't know, but that's what I assumed, that Joe's never been here for I don't know how many months, so, you know.
I thought we addressed it in one of the meetings that we had with the second meeting with landmarks or with the other ones.
We could vote on it, we could vote it down, and then rewrite it at another. If they want to get together and write it again, vote it down as it is.
I mean, because a lot of it's safety issue, and I even thought some of the fire department should have been in a work session to see what their thoughts are.
Now, this was just addressing the multiple inspections in a year. That was the only thing that this was addressing, was the fact that if occupancy changed in less than a year, we weren't going to inspect it. If it was longer than a year, yes, we would inspect it. But if somebody moved out a month after we just inspected it, we weren't going to inspect it again. I think we had comments from several landlords that they felt that was excessive, and I think our building inspector, in talking to him, I think he
Things can happen in a
felt.
month. I see towing cars that these buy here, pay here places can sell a car, and in 30 days, it's shot. And that's the same way a house could be too.
I'll
So
move to
things can
approve,
happen.
Your Honor.
I'll second.
And I think that's the 12-month thing, and I think you're right, that's very possible, John, but it is, I think it seems like it's a little excessive, having 3, 4, 5 in a year, possibly.
We have very few house fires or anything.
Well, that's true.
I mean, it's safe.
I think if there needs to be some things addressed as far as updating, I think one of your things wasn't it the carbon monoxide?
Yeah, carbon monoxide detectors.
And that's different than what this bill addresses.
Right. This was the only thing this was doing was the multiple inspections. Okay. Any other discussion? Okay. Roll call.
Alderman Skaggs.
Yes.
Alderman Rogers.
Yes?
Alderman Stupi.
No.
Alderman Jokers.
Yes.
Alderman Okenthus.
Yes.
Alderman Ross.
Yes.
Alderwoman Brumfield.
Yes.
6 yes, 1 no, 1 absent. Bill number 3837 now becomes ordinance 3787.
Okay. Thank you. Bill number 3849, second reading.
An ordinance approving a budget amendment to the City of St. Genevieve fiscal year 2012 budget relating to the general fund number 010.
Move to approve.
Second.
These are the budget adjustments out of the, that we discussed last time relative to the mailings and the addition of the $5,000 from the county to the marketing fund.
I'm just curious, why do they need so much money for mailing when a lot of it you pull right up on the internet and you can print it out?
This is a function of the requests they get from people responding to their marketing to have information sent to them.
I mean,
And the
nowadays-
better their marketing's working, the more mailings the requests they're going to get.
That's
Well,
a
I
good
agree,
thing.
but
Probably
I thought a lot of
good
you
thing.
pull up on,
I'm sure they
on the
do.
website and you just print it out.
Well, some request mailing, though.
Now,
Some don't have access to that.
Stephanie is here, and I'm sure she'd be willing to address your question.
Certainly. We do get a lot of requests via the internet, as far as, we'll send out as much as we can electronically. But the stuff that we send out, they're wanting paper. They want that tangible, that they can feel.
They don't have a printer.
Or they don't have a printer, or they're not hooked up to the internet. I mean, a good portion of our demographic is older, and they're not as tech savvy as the younger generations are.
I think the best advertisement is word of mouth by far.
Oh, absolutely. That's across the board for every industry.
Okay.
Motion in a second.
Any other discussion? Roll call.
Alderwoman Brumfield.
Yes.
Alderman Ross.
Yes.
Alderman Okenthus.
Yes.
Alderman Jokers.
Yes.
Alderman Stupi.
Yes.
Alderman Rogers.
Yes.
Alderman Skaggs.
Yes.
7 yes, 0 no's, 1 absent. Bill number 3849 now becomes ordinance 3788.
Thank you. Bill number 3850, second reading.
An ordinance approving the purchase of a used Kubota zero-turn lawnmower from Rippies in Farmington, Missouri, in an amount not to exceed $8,900 for the water department.
Move to approve.
Second.
Did we ever find out what year it is or when they put it in service?
So you gave us that one time.
I forgot what year it was. I think, the first night I did say that what year it was. I want to say it was,
It was an 09.
I thought you just said you thought you were gonna find out the exact.
well, that night, I think I had it written down, and I believe it was a 2008 model. When I left here that last evening was to ask about the warranty, and when I spoke to Rippy's over there, everything they sell comes with a 90-day warranty, and which that would get us that would get us through the mowing season.
I thought we got an email sent to us that said it was an 09. Maybe I misread.
I can't remember. Alderman,
I
I can't
remember the
remember.
90-day emails.
Was it 90-day email?
Yeah, I think it was 90.
It had a 9 in it.
Yeah, I do remember the 90.
Yeah.
Any other discussion? Roll call?
Alderman Jokers?
Yeah.
Alderman Stupi?
No.
Alderman Rogers?
Yes.
Alderman Skaggs?
Yes.
Alderman Okenthus?
Geez, if we don't get this, how are we gonna cut grass? And the grass is growing now. I'm gonna vote for it, yes.
Alderman Ross?
Yes.
Alderwoman Broomfield?
Yes.
6 yes, 1 no, 1 absent. Bill number 3850 now becomes ordinance 3789.
Thank you. New business, bill number 3851, first reading.
An ordinance amending Schedule 3 parking restrictions of the City of St. Genevieve Municipal Code and creating a handicapped parking spot in front of 52 North 3rd Street.
Move approval.
Second.
This is exactly like over there by Jerry's hair salon used to be, over there by on the other side of the Rosers building on 3rd Street.
It's
Is
the
that what it's
little,
at?
it's the little house,
The little house.
52, it's Doc Lanning's, house was on the corner. It's the one sitting next to it, the small house next to Doc Lanning's old house. Tim Kunzel lives there now in the corner.
It's right there.
And it's the little house next to his house. Actually, he owns the small house too.
Yeah.
Once we establish a handicap parking place, do we have to do another ordinance to delete it?
That's what you do, don't you?
Well, you know, we have what we call emergency powers of the chief to make it a non-handicap. In other words, if they're, in order to ticket them, it's either got to be under the emergency or an ordinance. So the chief of police could do I call it temporary emergency deletion, so that it wouldn't be a violation. But
Because I know there's one over there by the candle shop there. I thought it was for a lady that lives upstairs.
well, we also
But it's
have-
still there. I mean, the handicap parking is there, but the sign is gone. The blue paint's still there, but the sign is gone.
I think
So is it a handicap parking or not? I don't know.
it is not. I think we removed that. We had the sign removed.
by resolution or by ordinance.
Something, yeah.
Okay.
Uh,
I was just trying to figure
I
out
think you
whether
could
we do
remove
ordinance
it, you
to
could remove it
remove
with a resolution, but
Okay.
The lady that lived there passed away, and
Yeah, it's just something we, periodically need to keep track of. If this person would happen to move or whatever from this
Okay.
place, we certainly need to keep an eye.
Well, basically, anybody with a handicap
Yeah.
can park in that spot.
Right.
Yes, that's true.
Right.
That's true.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Not just for her.
Yeah, that's true. Okay, all in favor of first reading of bill number 3851?
Who seconded that?
I did, I think.
You, I
Or
got
Phil did.
I did.
Yes,
did.
yes.
We've been taking turns.
All in favor? Opposed?
We need to do this emergency?
I'd like to do a second reading on this, Your
I'll
Honor.
second that.
I make that motion. second.
Sure.
Okay.
There's
Get
no
that?
reason not to run this.
No,
is there?
Buck did a second.
All in favor of second reading?
Aye.
Opposed? Okay, bill number 3851, second reading.
An ordinance amending Schedule 3 parking restrictions of the City of St. Genevieve Municipal Code and creating a handicap parking spot in front of 52 North 3rd Street. Second reading.
Move to approve.
Second.
Roll call.
Alderwoman Broomfield. Alderman Ross.
Yes.
Alderman Okenfuss.
Yes.
Alderman Jokers.
Yes.
Alderman Stupi.
Yes.
Alderman Rogers.
Yes.
Alderman Skaggs.
Yes.
7 yes, 0 no's. Bill number 3851 now becomes ordinance 3790.
Okay, thank you. Bill number 3852, first reading.
An ordinance of the City of St. Genevieve, Missouri authorizing the mayor to execute a contract with Missouri Petroleum Products Company, LLC of St. Louis, Missouri for the micro-surfacing project for the City of St. Genevieve, Missouri.
Motion to approve.
Wait a second.
I shall.
Second.
Second.
All in favor of first reading?
Aye.
Opposed? Okay. Bill number 3853, first reading.
An ordinance amending section 110.057, establishment, regulation of public cemeteries, and section 210.770, cemetery rules of the St. Genevieve Code of Ordinances.
Move to approve.
Second. I have one thing.
Yes, sir.
We need to thank Bob Mueller. He did a lot of work with us, and he put a lot of effort into it, and I just want to say, Bob, thank you very much for all your work.
You're here. Did a good job, Bob.
Yeah.
Ain't always does either. We know that.
He knows a lot about everything. That's a smart man.
Yeah, thank you very much. I guess on the surface, it looks somewhat simple, but it's really a whole lot more complicated than what it really is.
They looked through a lot of stuff to get it narrowed down to this.
Yeah. Okay. All in favor of first reading 3853?
Aye.
Opposed? Okay.
Let me make a comment. Alderman Ross was generous in thanking Mr. Mueller, but Alderman Ross did a lot of work here too, and it's above and beyond what you would normally expect an alderman to do on a technical project. So Alderman Ross did a lot of it, and then the deed work, I'll work with your city administrator to get the cemetery deed and the covenants and the subdivision plat. We'll get that soon following.
Thank you, Teddy.
Thank you. Good job. Bill number 3854, first reading.
An ordinance approving a budget amendment to the City of St. Genevieve fiscal year 2012 budget relating to the general fund number 010 judicial.
I move to approve.
Second.
Catch up. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Okay, bill number 3855, first reading.
An ordinance authorizing the payment of $2,638.80 to St. Genevieve Community Access Television, Channel 798, for PEG access fees collected by Charter Communications for the year 2011.
Motion to approve.
Second.
That's our last one.
All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Okay, bill number 3856, first reading.
An ordinance of the City of St. Genevieve, Missouri, authorizing the mayor to enter into a software agreement with Data Technologies Incorporated of Omaha, Nebraska, to purchase software for the City of St. Genevieve, Missouri, and to enter into a yearly maintenance agreement for said support.
Move to approve.
Second.
Before you vote, I'd like you to pay attention to the addendum that limits their ability to increase their support to 5% for a 4-year period, and the attachment which addresses the city attorney's concerns about security.
Didn't you have a little bit to do with that, negotiating that?
Well, yeah, My job.
Thank you. You did well.
Okay, all in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Okay, public comments, anyone? Yes, sir.
Just real quickly, on behalf of St. John Community Access Television, I think everybody knows it's Channel 798. I just want to thank the city for their continued support of what we're trying to do. Thanks a lot. Appreciate it.
Thank
In other words, thank you for your hard work.
Enjoy it.
Pays well.
You might want to say a little bit about the YouTube and thing you guys been doing. Nobody knows about that.
I've got a man.
Everybody I've talked to said, St. Jim, you can YouTube on it. Yeah.
So we're basically, excuse me, I think we're trying to do what the gentleman was talking about with 911, losing my voice too, with 911. So we're trying to keep, progressing forward, and we think with the internet is the way to go. So Gary is on our tech committee, and Gary will fill in a little bit on what we're doing. Thank you.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Yeah, we felt that we need to go toward YouTube's, taking YouTube and also going through Ustream and live stream through the internet side of it. Right now we're hooked up with the charter cable, but it's not branching out to the county, and we're trying to reach the county. To do that, we have to go through the internet, and that's what we're doing. We established a website, and right now we're working on it. It's on right now, but we're still making changes and modifying the website. The website is www.stjentv.com. I've given you all a little flyer, just a synopsis of what we're doing or what we're looking and hoping to do. I would say sometime in June we should be fully operational, and the public out there in the St. Genevieve County as well, all over, because when you get onto live stream and Ustream, it sets it out there globally. So anyone with iPod, iPad, TV that's hooked up with the internet can watch what we do here. Do you have any questions?
Are you going to archive all of these? So, say 5 years from now, somebody wanted to go back and do something you broadcast today or tomorrow?
Sure, we do that already for the cable side of it, but we will be doing it for the website side, internet. In fact, we're doing it right now. If you can go on the website and hit videos on demand, it will be listing in date order what we're keeping and broadcasting out there if you want to look at it.
Great.
Okay.
That's good to know.
And we are looking for advertisers.
Yes, since PEG Access, that was their last payment. We've lost some money there, so we're figuring another way of doing it is to do some advertising on our website. Now, we can't on cable, the cable network, because that's a different program, and that is donations and contributions, which the city has helped supply us, and along with a lot of the viewers out there. We take their donations and some corporations. But as far as the internet, what we're trying to do is to find another way of generating income for our limited budget that we have. Most of the projects that we're doing on the website is entirely volunteer. The staff is Don Pritchard, our station manager, Mark Ganger, which is our guru. Let me tell you, he knows how to do the program. And we've had also Danielle Elp. She's actually helped design the website. And of course, me, I'm just a jack of all trades in that respect. But this is all freebies. Nobody's getting paid for any of this, except Don, and Don's getting paid. He's got his regular salary. and he's doing this also on his own. So that's where we stand right now. You'll see a lot of marked improvement on this website. Try to get a lot of the kinks and stuff out of it. So, like I said, probably be sometime in June till we really get it all polished enough that everyone will be happy with it. Like you can go on it now and you can see what we're doing and you can follow us as we progress.
It is impressive. It's very impressive, especially for a lot of people that have satellite TV. They say, well, we can't get the meetings or we can't get these events that you telecast. Well, now there's no excuse.
That's correct. And we were also reaching out to like St. Mary's, or St. Mary, I'm sorry. St. Mary, Bloomsdale. All these little communities that have different meetings and events. We'll try to cover events. The other thing that we'll be working on, the next project, we'll be working with and trying to establish a network of volunteers, videographers. We will train them how to do videoing, and we'll show them the ropes. We're also in the process of working with the St. John School District, where we'll be recruiting a lot of students there coming next year. They're going to include us in their syllabus, so we'll be able to provide more information for the students, kids, that give them projects and so forth to work with. So that was our other step after June. We'll go into trying to solicit and try to get volunteers to be videographers. Okay?
Well done.
Well, thank you and Mark and Danielle for your hard work. There is ads popping up on there, right? I know I was on there today and there was a Lexus. I mean, like
Well,
a 20-second spot, something like that.
Now, that is through Ustream,
Okay.
and that is through Livestream. We don't pay for that service.
Right.
So, in order to set up an agreement with them, they have that option to put an advertisement in. We can get it, but we have to pay to drop those commercials off. And eventually, maybe we'll get enough advertising that we can pay to get that dropped off.
Okay.
But until then, we can't.
Right.
On the bar, if you'll look at on the right-hand
Yeah, you
side,
can-
we've
yeah, you
got
can-
several support
Yeah.
advertisers there. We're getting, hospital has agreed to support us with some of our projects. Okay?
Thank you.
Thank you.
A little small community with 2 television stations.
Anybody else? Laura? Yeah, we go.
And a minivan.
Mr. Mayor and members of the board, I want to take this opportunity to come before you and speak about something that's been brought to my attention, but I kind of ignored it. But when I confirmed what was told to me with Pam, they tell me that Alderman Joe Steiger hasn't been to a meeting since the 12th of January. Now, this isn't right. This is not right to the population or the constituents of his ward. And I think that you should take this under consideration. This isn't right. And what's right is right, and what's wrong is wrong. And I consider Joe Steiger as a friend. It's tough for me to get up here and say this. But it's not right. And I think what has happened, he thinks that he's got the board in such a situation where they're going to defend him in any way, shape, or form. Now, I don't know if it was early in my experience on this board or if it was in St. Louis when I was at on the board of the Parkway School District, but somewhere along the line, there was I don't know what exactly what it was, but if you missed 3 meetings in a row, you would be out. Now, we could have had that here, and we had it as a resolution, and you got rid of it. But I think that you should. I think he has a lot of nerve stating on the board without considering getting off of it. The second thing I had on my mind was up on 9th Street. That'd be your ward. There's a lady told me that they're going to bring a bunch of parents up here where the buses can't go up the street on 9th Street. And they're telling me that there was some property owner there that wouldn't give permission or something, to widen the street there. I don't know what that deal is. But there's one situation on that street where, and I gave a list to Mr. Toma it'll be a year ago, where there's one house that's got 5 cars parked on the front of the street. And when you've got that kind of situation, I mean, that's hard on children. That's hard on children. And we shouldn't have to put up with that. But that's all I had on my mind. But this Joe Steiger thing and not being at a meeting since the 12th of January, that's wrong. Thank you.
Yes, I think as far as if there's ever an issue with the buses not being able to get anywhere, the chief and I have always worked together and taken care of any issues concerning travel on any of the streets. So, and there's probably been some times that happened, but I mean, it's always been addressed. So.
Well, usually just comes down,
Well,
I have had a resident approach me recently that I believe lives on 9th, and as far as her kids walking to school and how dangerous 9th Street is, I don't know that we got a good solution for it. It's just a narrow ass street.
I was going to address that also.
but I talked to the chief about it before the meeting.
And the, just vehicular traffic, especially student traffic after school, her concerns, this specific individual that was concerned for our walking to school. So I was just going to address that also.
Because Officer Smoot said that he goes up there in the morning and sits and kind of keeps a patrolling eye. But sometimes, like one morning in particular, he got on another call, and it seems that the kids know when he's not there. You know how that goes.
Yeah, and I can assure you, we do our best to patrol all the school zones, every day. When school's in session, that is a particularly hard street to do any traffic enforcement just due to the narrow street. We were actually in the process of getting a measurement on that also, and we've addressed that in a couple other areas. I haven't seen too many issues of people actually parking on the street. There's some front residential parking through there, but they have somewhat of a alcove or whatever on their property that allows them to get off of the street for the most part, which is helpful. But as far as setting up there in an area to enforce it, it's difficult, but we definitely want to make our presence known up there.
Well, one of the ladies that had complained to me, admittedly, in front of Officer Smoot, that he did stop her. He said, "Well, I was trying to go get my little girl, and he stopped me."
Yeah.
Hey, slow down.
Yeah. That's,
So you are
the
doing
increased
somewhat.
visibility is probably about the most help we can give at this
Absolutely.
point in time, and hopefully that will will aid in the speed. There again, the width of the street, as far as the children walking to school is a concern. 8th Street isn't a great solution for anybody that lives in the middle, you know, between Jefferson and Market, just because there's still a length that they'll either have to walk through somebody's yard or in the street to get to Market or Jefferson to get down to 8th Street. So it's a concern, and I can report back on the measurements of the street just for whatever that'll help.
And we have been pushing extremely hard. Mr. Toller and myself, we've even went to the state to try and put a fire under somebody's feet about getting our necessary paperwork back to get this safe way to schools going, because, you know, this passing paper back and forth and not wanting to return our phone calls and whatnot, it's not getting it. We're not happy
But I
about it.
don't believe 9th Street is included in it.
Well, it's not, but that, you know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
We got to do, we're gonna do something, but we're kind of handcuffed by companies who, for whatever reason,
Yeah.
aren't helping us do this expeditiously.
As far as 9th Street, we do have the no parking from Washington on down to Market on the west side.
Correct.
So that's been a big help.
Anybody else?
Thanks, Chief.
One thing I had is somebody asked about at Market and 9th, over the concrete slab, how horrible that sidewalk is. I mean, they patched it with blacktop to keep somebody from stumbling. Where the rail is,
Yeah.
if you look at that,
We
it's
got-
horrible there.
Yeah, we got a lot of bad sidewalks all over town.
Generally speaking, I think the
Some of us
ordinance
don't have
says that
sidewalks.
Yeah, there's places we probably should have had sidewalks.
City code says that the property owner is responsible for maintenance of the sidewalks in front of their houses, with the exception of the downtown area where the city owns the sidewalks. So it generally falls back on the owner of the property. People obviously haven't been doing that. I'm not sure most people know that. I think most people think
We had one
sidewalk
resident
is
dig
the
up a
city's
sidewalk.
responsibility. So it's kind of
You
a,
know what I'm talking about.
but I don't know what to do about conditions like that would be actions that are consistent with the ordinance.
The city does give a little something to residents that would like to build a sidewalk in front of their house. I know it's a little kick, I think. Couple, $3
We're
bucks.
prepared, we're
A yard,
participating
foot.
in a sidewalk survey with SEMO, and maybe that'll generate some funds for, like down the road for sidewalk improvements. But, there's nothing on the horizon that's being applied for. It's just kind of a planning process.
Hey, anything else? Yes, sir.
What about our hiking pipe and up to Little Rock? Anything more on that?
I do, and Brenda's had the most recent conversation, and I'm going to tell you what I know, and she can expound on it. The parking area is currently in the hands of staff at the railroad. The guy we started talking to had to send it to another department. They've expressed some concerns about people who would be using that area then being able to, without having to climb over anything, get on the rail lines. So we think that they will be asking for some kind of rail or fencing to prevent that, but we haven't received any specific response from them. That's our anticipation, and our conversations with the funding agency, we are led to believe that should that be a requirement, it's not going to be a problem. But we're waiting for the railroad people to formally communicate with us. Anything else?
Anything?
Linda, is that sufficient?
Yes, I also have been communicating with, see if I can pronounce this right, Elquin,
Elquin, Awala.
That's a tough name.
Yes, it is, with MoDOT in Sykeston, and she has given the go-ahead. I asked if it would be all right if we would turn in the right-of-way information and proceed with the project without the railroad yet, since we were in discussions with the railroad, and it is at the end of the project. And she said, yes, go ahead and turn in the right-of-way information, and we will try to proceed in that manner.
And she, by the way, is the same lady we talked to from the state for the Safe Way to Schools.
Yes,
Yes.
same person.
So she's really helped us out quite a bit in a short period of time since she's kind of taken this job.
Oh, okay.
More so than what we had before. Okay, thanks, Brendan.
Anything else?
Anybody know anything about the railroad crossing that pulled up going over to the yard disposal site?
They put it back today.
It's all back together.
Did they clear that with you? Because I had
The railroad was doing that.
yeah, but I mean, they should have cleared it.
We had knowledge of it.
I had a bunch of folks that were trying to use the site.
We had knowledge of it about 30 minutes before it happened.
Okay. 30 minutes notice.
Well, I don't know.
Half hour notice, what the hell?
They didn't give us sufficient notice that we could have put it on the radio or.
I understand.
Okay, motion to adjourn.
Motion to adjourn?
All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Thank you.
No.